Well, good day, everybody. It is September 29th, one more day, and we are already into October. So happy fall, and I hope everybody is doing well. Please, if you're watching, feel free just to pop on, say hello. If you're watching later on, hit hashtag replay. Would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and your questions as well. I'd be happy to address those. My name is Crystal Sayers, and I'm the owner of New Beginnings Health and Wellness, and I'm a certified body talk practitioner, and I'm also a transformational coach. And so I use body talk as a way to help people bring transformation in their life, in their mindset, their money, their health, in whatever way needed. And I'm so excited to be here with you today to discuss what in the world is your pain in your body? What is it trying to tell you? So feel free just to ask your questions if need be. Hi, Thomas. Great to have you on. Lovely to see you here. Just checking the chat. And I do have some people who've actually asked me some questions, so I'm going to address those today as well. And they were not able to be at the other or to ask them at our previous one last week. So, all righty. Yeah, so some good stuff here today. Lori says that she hasn't had any rashes over a week now. That's great, Lori. I think we probably chatted off and on about rashes, maybe off camera, and had conversations about it. But rashes often relate, as you're commenting here, relate often to inflammation within the body. And depending where it is, it could be indicating that there is a specific thing that could be addressed. Obviously, there's a physical element to most of what we are experiencing pain-wise. It could also be psychological, though, not talking about Lori's thing, but just for those who are watching and maybe you've never seen one of these sessions or segments before, what we're really talking about here is how the body mirrors or can often mirror pain, which actually is maybe there are deeper issues related to it. And so the body actually might have a symptom in a specific area wanting to get our attention. And so a lot of times we're not really always the best at really listening. Sometimes we think, oh, well, this is just a physical issue that I need to get over. And I will tell you that it may be physical, but usually it has other components to it. It could be issues related to energy flow within the body. It could relate to psychological, emotional difficulties, past trauma, issues related to moving ahead into the future, so many different things. And so the pain in our body really is a gift for us to become more aware of what else could be happening so that we can really walk in optimal health, spirit, soul, and body. So hi, Melissa, nice to see you. Great to have you on here today. If you've just hopped on, feel free just to say hello. I see Thomas and I see Lori. Great to have you guys here. And yes, hello from Airdrie. I can't remember where Thomas is. Are you in Australia, Thomas? And Lori is in somewhere else in Alberta as well. So yeah, great to have you guys on here. And I know lots of times people catch the replay. So hit hashtag replay if you're catching the replay later on. Feel free just to pop your questions in. I do have some questions from some people already, so I'm going to address those first today. And great to have you guys. Okay, so, Lori says she's from Medicine Hat. Nice to see you, Lori. So one of the things that has come up is that somebody had messaged me saying that their daughter has some breathing issues, and they know that it's not asthma, it's not vocal cord dysfunction or allergies, and specialists have not been able to diagnose whatever this issue is in over 10 years. So breathing issues, I mean, that's pretty severe from what I understand from this person. Their daughter actually has a really hard time breathing at very strange times, doing all kinds of different things. And, one of the things that I will say about the breathing issues in general, I would say oftentimes we can have difficulty taking in life. So if the breathing issue is actually taking the breath in and there's pain or discomfort, then it's possible that this person may be struggling with just taking in life as it is. And you know, sometimes we can become very overloaded, and so it becomes very difficult even to take a nice deep breath. And even right now, I would encourage you, you know, maybe just take a nice slow deep breath in and feel, how does that feel? Is is it comfortable or is it uncomfortable? You know, because we really need the oxygen to get to the lowest areas within the lungs in order to properly be circulated and for the body to really utilize the breath really well. So if you're finding that you're taking a shallow breath in, you know, then likely you're not even getting a full breath, but it could be indicating that you could be struggling with, or maybe this person could be struggling with taking life in fully. Sometimes, you know, through the experiences that we've had, you know, in our lives, it's just we haven't maybe processed through all of that or healed from some of our past things. And so then taking on anything more is too difficult. The other aspect related to this is the breath out. So breathing out, you know, is it a, you know, like a quick breath, or is it like a full breath? So, you know, as I'm saying this, you know, take a nice breath in fully, and then take and allow the breath to move out. Sorry for the hand movements. I'm a hand talker. And see how that feels. How does it feel? Does it feel uncomfortable? And if we're experiencing discomfort with a full breath out, or we notice that again, we're shallow breathing in, shallow breathing out. Breathing out has to do with our ability to really let go of things. And so it could be an indicator that maybe you might be struggling with letting go. So, and some people it's one or the other, and others it's for both. So both the breath in, the breath out. If you experience sharp pain, you know, notice that. So you're experiencing sharp pain. So there could be something related to that. There could be emotional issues associated with the breath in or breath out. And so, you know, grief, I've mentioned this before, grief is a very common one that gets kind of stuck in the lungs. So if you've experienced a lot of difficulty in life, or you know, you've had trauma, but you've not maybe been able to process it, your body could be saying, hey, we've got some more stuff that we need to let go of. And I recently had a client who I don't know that they even realized that they were having breathing issues, or that they were just maybe feeling heavy in their breath even, until it came up in the session. And it was an item that came up in the session. And as a result, afterwards, they really noticed this clarity of breath, that they were able to breathe deeper, their breath was more clear, and they felt that this heavy weight that had been on them had actually been lifted. So that's the power of what I get to do every day, is I get to see miracles. And so sometimes we don't even realize that we have things going on until it comes up, but our body's been trying to get our attention the whole time. And so that's what this is about creating new levels of awareness. Let me just check the chat here. And I see Lori, I see Brooke. Hi, Brooke. Great to have you here as well. Nice to see you. And yeah, so I hope that helps a little bit with the breathing. I will say a couple other things in terms of the lungs. Let me just look at my notes here. I did come a little bit prepared because I knew ahead of time that we were going to be addressing the lungs. The lungs also, so the lungs relate to releasing and holding, right? Which is kind of what we're talking about. They also relate to energy distribution, vitality, right? So it has to do with our vitality. Obviously, we need to be able to breathe in order to live, which is really important. So the quality of the breath also can be an indicator of our sense of vitality within life. In addition to that, it also can have to do with, so this person whose daughter is struggling with lung issues, my understanding is that she has a difficult time, you know, taking a breath in, like they just can't breathe in. And so there's this feeling of suffocating even. So the lungs can have to do with suffocating. Is this person, and I'm not saying the daughter necessarily, but just in general, right? Issues with the lungs is, could you, if you're struggling with that, be feeling like you're suffocating with life and wherever you're at in life, and just having the difficulty kind of coming up for air, right? So just keep that in mind. And then it also has to do with, I already mentioned grief. It also relates to control. So one thing that happened for me when I was young, I was in ballet. Okay. And in ballet, there's a certain, you have to hold your everything in, and, and the chest kind of comes up and out, and the shoulders are down, like back, and, there's a whole pose. What was interesting about that is I realized later on, years later, that I would hold my breath. So I was no longer in ballet, and I've been through some of my own traumatic experiences and that type of thing. But I would notice when I would become stressed, I would hold my breath. I literally would hold it in. So, there's that as well. So there's aspects associated with control and the breath. And it also relates to our responsiveness, our ability to respond to life or to a particular situation. So I hope that helps. Yeah, lung issues are can be very difficult. And here's the thing that I'll say about this. If they can't seem to find a diagnosis, then there's probably a much deeper root or a deeper reason, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because a lot of times things go undiagnosed. And I've experienced that in my own life, where they thought it was this particular thing, but really internally there was a bunch of stuff going on emotionally and psychologically. And until I addressed those issues and became congruent and aligned internally, so internal and the physical, then the physical actually could get better. And so it's incredibly powerful how our bodies really are very much connected. We are complex beings for sure, but there is a way to understand. And yeah, so I hope that helps a little bit. The last thing that I will say about the lungs or breathing issues is this. So this is a book actually by Louise Hay. I don't know if you can really see it, but anyway, it's a great little book. It has several different types of ailments and issues that we all face. And not only does she have a within the book sort of like, here's a category, and then what could be actually happening, or how the body could be responding to and wanting your attention, but then an affirmation that actually can help address and help you repattern. So affirmations can be really powerful if you use them correctly. If you just say it over and over again, that's not necessarily going to help, but you really have to engage with it. And if you're interested, I have lots of stuff on affirmations. I'd be happy to send you some stuff, and also to teach you how to properly engage with an affirmation so that it actually becomes the reality of your life. So let's talk about the breath though. So breathing issues. So what she comments here is fear or refusal to take life in fully. Okay, so fear, the ability to take life in fully, which we've already mentioned before, and not feeling the right to take up space or even to exist. Okay, so those could be some types of things, and this would include things like asphyxiating attacks, hyperventilation, any types of breathing issues. And so the affirmation that she includes here in this is, it is my birthright to live fully and freely. I am worth loving. I now choose to. So there's this whole thing of really allowing, again, taking in life fully and being free, right? So anyway, so Louise Hay's book is really, really great, just to give us an indicator. Sometimes it's totally different. That's why I have several different resources and my own training from Body Talk as well. So I use that a lot to help people understand. And then what else? Yeah, so that's that one there. I hope that helps. So that's kind of a bit of a long explanation here. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a little bit. Okay, any other questions? Feel free just to pop your questions about your pain. I have another one here, and this is somebody who had asked about heel problems. So the heel is a part of the foot. And so in general, issues with the feet relate oftentimes to our ability to move forward and sometimes even to take a step back. Um, a heel issue in particular, depending on what side it is, can relate. So for example, the right side, if you're having issues with your heels, this person's having issues with the skin. So the skin is also, I will comment about the skin because this is really important. I mean, the skin is like the largest part of us, or the largest organ within the body, and it protects us, right, from the environment. So there could be things associated with protection. When we have skin, we have breakouts on the skin, inflammation, rashes on the skin, acne on the skin. So there are specifics to all of those things as well. But just in general, the skin relates to protecting us from our environment, protects the rest of the body from the environment, from the harshness of the environment. The skin also has to do with, I'll just tell you this, self-acceptance. So issues with skin. So things like acne or any area of skin, really. Self-acceptance, our self-image. So, I mean, I went through and am still working through adult acne, and there's other complications and things like that going on with it. But I can definitely attest to the fact that self-image is a big one for most of us. Actually, most of us really struggle with that because there's a lot of judgment associated with that in the media, and there's everything. So yeah, so that's kind of a pretty big one. Also, as potentially even a sense of guilt. The skin also relates to our sensuality, right? Sensuality is sort of the feminine expression, part of the feminine expression of our sexuality, and feeling safe to be beautiful. So if I say it is safe to be beautiful, or it's safe for you to be beautiful, and you think about how does that actually make you feel when I say that, maybe past experiences would say, no, it's not, because of things that have gone on, then that could be indicating that there's something that needs to be addressed there. And a lot of times, even issues around weight gain, not that it's the only reason, but issues around weight gain often can relate to our felt need for protection. And so until we are in a place, so we can address the outside, you can go on a diet, you can do all these things, but until we address the real root reason as to why we have the weight in the first place. And like I said, it could be the food we eat, it can be chemicals, it can be hormone disruptions, there can be many, many different reasons, but ultimately it oftentimes comes down to our felt need for protection. And for people who have experienced, especially a lot of sexual trauma or sexual abuse, oftentimes weight gain is part of the protective mechanism, in order for them to feel safe. So just something to be thinking about. So anybody who might be struggling with weight issues, yes, you can address it from a physical standpoint, but it will not last long term if you don't address what is underneath and the reasons why. A lot of times even weight gain can relate to self-sabotaging behavior, self-poisoning, right? So overeating, things like that, it could relate to sabotaging ourselves. And why would we do that, right? So and sometimes it's a fear of success. A fear of success can actually lead us to sabotaging our behavior, because the expectations, for example, of other people upon us could become different. So let's just say that, maybe I've gained, 50 pounds, and that 50 pounds keeps me safe, for maybe various reasons. But in addition to that, what it also can do is it can lower people's expectations of me, because maybe if I actually don't have all the weight on, then people expect certain things of me, or whatever. Like I know lots of people, even activity, the expectation, our own self-image around, getting up and running, like running the baseball diamonds and things like that. Even when we were young, we can feel very, very self-conscious about those things. And so weight issues can sometimes get us out of those types of things. So here's what I want to just say while I'm thinking of this. That is, we all have our own ailments, our own issues, and that we're all working through. Nobody has arrived, even just because I'm right here. I haven't arrived. I have stuff that I'm working through myself. And, one of the things that is not easy to hear, but is very worthwhile considering for your consideration is, what do you get out of your ailment or your sickness? So for example, somebody asked me this question and it really challenged me. I was like, what? It was I was a little bit offended, but it was good actually, because they said, I was addressing issues related to burnout and feeling really exhausted and tired. And they said, well, what do you get out of it? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you get something out of it, so what is it? And I said, well, when I become completely exhausted, I have to stop everything. I need to not do anything. It forces other people to have to kind of step in and help. And I was processing this, and they're like, yeah, so you see, so you get rest. What you really want is rest, and you've not had good boundaries to get rest. So then you allow yourself to get to the point where you are completely exhausted, and then you have no choice but to rest. And then other people, then it's like, it's fair, or to some degree, I'm worthy of other people looking after me now. And when they said that, it was like the light went on for me. I went, oh my gosh, yes. Because I didn't want to have to stop and get rest and make those choices. So what happened is I allowed myself to continue until I was completely exhausted, and it forced me to make the decision to do it. And sometimes, this is actually something I'm working through with some people right now in their lives. And that is that they would prefer to be forced to make a decision about something instead of making the decision and really feeling like they're in control. And so what happens then is being forced, or being in a position where they don't have to make the decision. They're not letting a bunch of people down, for whatever the reasons are, but the reality is that, we are worthy of being able to make our own decision without it having to be forced upon us. And when I look back at my own life, I can see how many times, through physical issues, through burnout, through, job situations that weren't working out, that it forced me to have to make a decision before I was really wanting to make the decision, even though underneath it all, it was the right thing to do. So because I was so loyal, I would have such a difficult time saying, this isn't the right fit for me, or I can no longer do this. I didn't want to do that. So I allowed myself to get completely physically exhausted to the point where I had no choice but to move from that situation. And so I, again, what is your body trying to tell you? And are you open to considering, what is it that you're getting? What are the benefits that you're actually getting out of your illness? So for me, like I said, I had people who would basically, because I would have to step away because of my exhaustion, then I could lower my own expectations of myself. I could tell people not to expect anything from me for a period of time, and I didn't want to take on more responsibility. And so that's kind of part of what I got out of it. What I've learned from that is to not allow myself to get to that point, and to start making those decisions earlier, and allowing myself the freedom and understanding that I am worthy enough to take rest and to have a break, and to not have such high expectations of myself to always be in performance mode, because that leads to other problems. Anyway, I really hope that that has helped you guys. Um, just checking the chat here. Does anybody have any questions? Can anybody relate to what I'm actually talking about? I know people who have, for example, headaches is something very common, and headaches can relate to many different things, but oftentimes people feel a lot of pressure. So you get a headache or you get a migraine, and I know some people in particular. Okay, so I'm not going to say this for everybody. This isn't a blanket statement, but what they would get out of it is the ability to rest, the ability to not have to take on responsibility, or for other people to do things for them. And so what ended up happening was they started realizing that, and they were struggling with taking on responsibility. And part of it was just because of some of their own past experiences, right? Everything we have lived up to thus far, right? So our subconscious mind informs oftentimes, our brain will fill in the blanks, right? So if we have an experience and it's not sure what's going to happen, our brain is always trying to figure out, is this a positive or is this a negative? Is this a positive? Is this a negative? And so it's always trying to judge as to whether or not, and maybe the situation is completely neutral, but it will base our whether it's a positive or negative upon our past experiences. And so we can get very stuck in certain lines of thought. And so this is a way for us to become more aware of what types of patterns, am I living in? Just checking the chat here. Any further questions? Hi, Dawn. Great to have you here. Nice to see you. And yes, so I went on a bit of a tangent. I'm gonna go back to the heal situation. So things related to moving forward in life could, as associated with the feet in general, there are specifics to the heel. I just haven't had time to kind of look all of that up. But we were talking about the skin and how the skin is part of our protective mechanism. So that's one thing to think about. The other is if you're experiencing, pain on one particular side or the other, the right side oftentimes represents our ability to move forward into the future, or even our sense or right. Like, do I even have a right to move forward with my life? The left side oftentimes can have to do with past, the emotional issues associated with the past. It also can relate to even reliving trauma, past trauma, specifically with the foot. And so, the fear of, maybe even moving forward, but something from the past needing to be addressed so that you can be free to move forward. And for this particular person, they said this issue with their heel is on both the left and the right. So it could be associated both with future things as well as things from the past that also need to be addressed. But my sense for that particular person, if you're watching, is that it relates to a felt need for protection. And in some cases, even overprotection, needing or feeling like you need to overprotect in order to keep yourself safe, or maybe others if they're in your care. So just something for you to, sort of ponder on and go, okay, what could my body be trying to tell me here? And obviously none of this takes the place of seeing a physician or a chiropractor or anything like that. So please, you guys, if you're in pain, you really should go have the medical side looked after. But this is just looking at some of the deeper root causes. And if you find yourself continually injured in a particular area, or you have a particular thing like that could be, that's perpetuated, like it's an ongoing thing, or like every fall this and this happens, then it's probably an indicator of something much deeper. Sometimes it's trauma. The body actually knows and is aware of certain times of the year. Lots of time, like I've had people say, I had no idea, like every time, I would come around this time in the summertime, this would happen. And I would feel this way. I would start feeling really angry or very irritated or depressed. And then later on, they would realize, and sometimes this stuff can be very buried, so you don't even know, but they realized, oh, there was a really traumatic situation that happened in their life. And sometimes these things come up in body talk sessions and it can be released very quickly and we can be de-triggerized. I call it de-triggering, from these things that we oftentimes don't even realize are really bothering us. And so, anniversaries are oftentimes where people can feel very, emotional, and that's very common. But there are ways to be able to work through that, especially if you've lost a loved one, to be able to work through the grief and that type of thing and let it go. Because grief is a gift that actually allows us to feel it, but then to move on. And if you're not able to kind of move on over a period of time, then perhaps we need to look at some of the other ways to address those things. So yeah, so thank you so much. I don't think there are any further questions, but like I said, later on, if you think of something or it's really private, you can send me a message and I will either talk to you privately about it, or if it's something that can be shared like on this, but without your name, I'd be happy to address it because there's probably somebody else who's experiencing the same thing. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Just letting you know, I do have a sale on my Body Talk packages right now, and probably one of the best deals that I've given. I will post the link for the information for that as well in there. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now.